Hi, this is Andrew Twidwell, owner of ABT Plumbing, Electric, Heat and Air. Once again with the show You Got This. It's a show of DIY do's and don'ts. And I am not in Auburn today. I'm actually down in the Bay Area with family. And I've got Rosalie, our producer and marketing extraordinaire, down in LA right now. So we're all, doing the family thing, Thanksgiving. We're recording this the day before. And I don't know about you, but it's been kind of hectic, but fun at the same time. I've got my 27-year-old son up here staying with us, visiting from Mexico City. Been hanging out with my daughter a lot. I'm looking for an apartment for her. Her roommate has decided to go back to grad school and move down SoCal down to Claremont with her family. And yeah, so it's been an interesting couple of days. How about yourself?
So a trip to the grocery store yesterday, that was enough. That was enough. Uh, we're hunkered down. We have all the supplies we need, and we're going to try not to leave the house until after the holiday, but
Yeah.
probably not Friday. Probably not Friday because that's the whole like Black Friday crazy.
Oh
So we're we're just going to try to chill out, I think.
yeah, we think we're going to be doing a tourist day, take the ferry and do a San Francisco day with the kids, just for fun on
Oh, it should be
Friday.
a very, very empty day in the city on Friday.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're not going shopping, so we're going to stay away from the malls and stay away from the stores and all that. So it should be good. But one thing we did find, so my son's visiting from Mexico City and talking about how he's been down there for 2 years now and living and working down there, and the difference in the economies is striking, and he's just blown away. Like, we're looking for an apartment for our daughter, and a studio apartment in San Francisco right now is going from anywhere from 17 to 2,500 bucks a month, and he's like, I'd live on that. He lives on, I think, 2,500 bucks a month is what he said, or 2,300 bucks a month right now. $400 a month for his rent. His food's like nothing because he'll go out to eat and it'll cost him, $1 to $5. He goes out with his friends, and a beer, I think he says, costs him like $2 or $3. A cocktail is about $2 or $3. And you compare that with the Bay Area or anywhere, actually, even in Grass Valley or Auburn, you're spending, for a studio apartment, you're still spending about 1,200 to 1,500 bucks a month. And then if you want to go out to eat, it's going to cost you $100. Or yeah, it's shocking. And it's interesting having him here, and he's been down there for so long. And I knew it was inexpensive, but man, I just didn't quite get how less expensive it is for him to live down there. And he works for a Mexican company and is surviving quite well down there, living a very nice life, living what he would not be able to live up here, doing what he's doing. So yeah, it's interesting. Makes me think, wow, maybe hey babe, let's move down to Mexico. Let's just can this whole thing and move down to Mexico. We could live perfectly fine on very little money down there.
Well, I mean, that is true. It's also one of the reasons that young people go across the border to party because, I
Yeah.
mean, I know I did when I was young. Um, but I think it's true of a lot of places in this country. I mean, people laughed at me when I bought a house in Michigan, but I was like, really? Where are you buying a livable property for $15,000? Nowhere? That's right.
And how much was that?
So
How much was that again?
my part of it was 15. The total price was 29.
Yeah.
Um, I may not be in it in the moment, but it's still standing and it's there for me at some point. So, I mean, what all I'm saying is that when you live in California, I love California. The weather's great, the people are amazing, and there's a lot of opportunity here. But I mean, everything you get what you pay for, which
Yeah.
makes me think about ABT, for instance. I'm going to segue into work
Nice.
stuff. Okay. So because I kind of work with people on the reviews and the like kind comments and not kind comments we get, the one thing people say is they really love the level of service they get, and sometimes they're a little bit upset that it's we're not the cheapest. And I think that we've talked about this before. While I totally understand, like it costs a lot to live and nobody wants to call on an emergency, like none of us want to spend, $300 or $500 we hadn't planned
Are
on,
you
right?
kidding? Yeah.
But when
For
I
something else,
know
like a couch or a car or something like that. It's not something tangible that you can share with your friends.
it's something unfortunate usually, so there's some upset around that, which I totally understand. I mean, I had to have a plumber in the other day, just FYI. But I guess my point is that, and you have a really good way of framing this, but one of the reasons that we're not the cheapest is because of the quality of technician, the quality of the materials.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into ABT. So we're not the cheapest, but I would argue we
Yeah.
are the best.
Yeah. I mean, and we've been voted best in multiple times. And yeah, I mean, we have to, our technicians are making a better than living wage in Nevada County. They're doing very well. And that's what it takes to get good talent. And for any of you that are out there in the world of bosses or owners or stuff like that, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, labor is ridiculously expensive right now, and it's ridiculously hard to find good labor or talented people out there right now. Our insurance is through the roof, our rents through the roof, our materials gone up. I don't know. I know like our equipment for HVAC has gone up some to the tune of like 30% over the course of the last 4 years since the pandemic started. Our vehicles have doubled in price in the course of the pandemic. We were buying trucks for $50,000 to $60,000. Well, not quite double, but $50,000 to $60,000 in 2019, and now they're costing us $90,000 to $100,000 for the same truck. Not much difference in the trucks, but that's just the reality. And yeah, it is an incredibly expensive country to live in, and it's incredibly expensive to run a business in California. And I read a really good meme from a friend of mine on Facebook the other day. It's like, yeah, I, everybody's prices have had to increase. Everybody, from the restaurants to the plumbers to the audiologists to the masseuse, everybody's prices have had to increase because all of our costs to run a business have increased. And you can complain about it, yeah, and it stinks, and yeah, I wish it wasn't the case, but it's just a reality these days. And we have to, if you want to support local businesses, it's going to cost a little bit to do that. And it's not necessarily going to cost you more than going to like Target or something like that to go to a local place. I mean, it might cost you a little bit more, but you're going to get a company that's actually supporting the community. And that's one thing that people tend to forget, that our small businesses and our local communities actually support each other, and the money stays in the community. Our taxes stay in the community. The money that our employees make stays in the community. The money that the company makes stays in the community. And everything from just going to the grocery store to donating money to the local baseball team or to the kids soccer team or anything like that, or the high school, or the turkey trot or stuff like that. That all is very local. And I've been on that side. I was in Rotary for a long time, and trying to get larger companies to donate to local it just didn't happen. I mean, you'd go knocking on the door and they're like, well, let me talk to my manager. And then it was just crickets. You didn't hear anything. But when you go to a local store and ask, do you mind supporting our local charity for XYZ? You actually are typically talking to the owner, and they're like, of course, we want to support you. You guys are doing amazing work, blah, 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 blah. And you just don't have that. So yeah, things are more expensive right now, and that's just a reality. And I'll be the first one to tell you, we're not the cheapest, but we've been
But
voted, and yeah, you're going to get incredible service, and we're still around. We've been
and
around for 23 years now, so we're going to be here to back you up on those warranties that, heaven forbid something breaks.
And right now, we have some great specials. I'm just going to throw those in right now because we
Yeah.
might not get to them at the end. If you're listening to this on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, you may have a house full, and that comes with some plumbing problems that
Yeah.
are challenges that we're going to talk about. So if you need to call ABT for service next week, when things have calmed down, we have a couple great deals right now. We've got an HVAC inspection, right, for $49, right?
Yep.
We've got a 10-point electrical safety inspection. You want to make sure you get your electrical looked at before you plug in all those outdoor lights, right?
Yeah.
And your Christmas tree. That's $49. And we also have a water heater flush and plumbing inspection for $49. Now, that doesn't deal necessarily with, I have a problem right now, I want that special. But if you want to prevent problems or have your system looked at, right, that $49 special does, work for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, most of us have vehicles and, we get them tuned up because we want to make sure that the car doesn't break down. We're in the middle of nowhere. Same sort of thing happens in your homes. If you're not doing a tune up, if you're not doing an inspection by a licensed, certified professional, you may end up in a pinch where, Thanksgiving or Christmas, something goes bad, and lo and behold, you can't find anybody to come out and fix it. Just like if you're driving your vehicle across the desert and find out that, yeah, I should have changed the oil and now all of a sudden my engine's seized. Um, these things happen. So yeah, take advantage
You
of
do,
those
you
specials
do
because
know, you do know my brakes just went out, right? And I had to go get that dealt
I did see
with.
that. Metal on metal. Yeah. And
I
that's something
mean,
that unfortunately your mechanic, when you had the oil change last time, should have spotted and let you know.
okay, but in my imaginary mechanic's defense, because I don't drive that much,
Right.
um, I haven't had the oil changed because I just barely hit 5,000 miles from the last oil change, and I think the last oil change was in 2020. So maybe 2021. So anyway,
They should have checked it. I mean, it's not a matter of age with brakes; it's a matter of miles. So brakes wear on miles. So even 5,000 miles ago, they should have noticed that your brakes were really thin, and at least give you a heads up as to whether or not you want to do something about it. And you know, that's one thing we always tell our customers is like, I don't want you to be. Would you be mad if I were to tell you if I find a problem? And most of the time people say no, because, just like your brakes. I mean, when I bring my truck in to get the oil changed, I want to know if the brakes are on really thin and they're going to be, going out in the next 3 to 10,000 miles, right? Because I don't want to be stuck on the side of the road, metal to metal, or heaven forbid, my wheel actually seizes up because it welds itself together. These things happen.
yeah,
So
I'm
anyway,
all
yeah,
about disaster avoidance is always good. So
yeah,
so now that we're 12 minutes into the show, let's
yeah.
talk a little bit about plumbing, right? And if it's the day
So
after
yeah, I looked
Thanksgiving
up
when
this.
you do hear this, you might have a house full, right?
So I pulled up this list of 7 Thanksgiving plumbing tips to avoid a holiday emergency. Granted, it's Friday, but you probably still have people in the house. I know we will, and putting extra loads on the system. So we'll just kind of run through this thing. So number one, don't do not toss the leftovers down the drain. It's kind of a misnomer that we call it a garbage disposer. It is not a garbage disposer. It is the leftovers after dumping all the leftover, or it is the what's left on the plates. That's after you've already dumped everything into the bin, into your compost heap. You don't want to just be dumping chicken bones or turkey bones or, heaven forbid, celery or something of that pasta, something of that nature down your drain. You will have a problem. And so do not use your garbage disposer as a disposer. It is simply to clean the sink up, kind of thing. Imagine, like you don't, I kind of think that you don't have a disposer. That's the best thing. And just clean your sink up with it, and use a disposer to run it. So yeah, do
And
not, do
don't
not.
be fooled. Do not be fooled by mashed potatoes. Those are starchy and those will
Oh
give
yeah.
you a problem. Because
Oh yeah.
I've been to people's houses and they use a disposal for the mashed potatoes. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like that's gonna be a big mess in there. So big
It turns into
mistake.
concrete in a P-trap if you don't use enough water. So if you do use a disposer, and that's one thing too, is you want to make sure to run a lot of water with it. And being that we're in California, and fortunately we're not in a drought, we're not really in a drought any longer, but you still kind of want to conserve a little bit of water. Don't be stingy on the water when you do run your disposer, because you want to flush all the material down. And like you say, potatoes, mashed potatoes, carrot peelings. I can't tell you how many times I've had a clogged kitchen sink where it was just stuff stuck right in the P trap, and it was because they weren't using enough water and they were dumping it down the drain, and it solidifies in the bottom of the P trap, and then yeah. it turns into a nightmare. And you got to replace. I mean, at that point, you're clearing everything out, and it's just a mess. But a DIY thing is if you do get a kitchen sink stoppage, um, and you are handy, if you do, I'll kind of lead into this. You can drop the P trap. It's not that difficult, particularly in Nevada and Placer County, where we typically use a plastic P trap, and they've got nuts on the nuts that we use have a little thumb. I can't even remember what it's almost like a there's you don't necessarily even have to use a wrench. I when I was doing it when I was out in the field, I never even used a wrench on P traps any longer because of the way they were manufactured. But the way you want to do this is get a bucket, a 2-gallon bucket, 5 gallons too big, couple quart bucket, or a bowl, put it underneath the P trap because that P trap holds water. Drop the trap. More than likely, you're going to find some debris there. If you don't find debris in that section, if you have a 2-basin sink, you have what's called a continuous waste. There's that T underneath that connects the 2 basins before it goes into P trap. Typically, there's a baffle in there, and stuff will get stuck in there. So you may have to drop the T on the continuous waste. But 9 times out of 10, with a kitchen clog, it's usually within the continuous waste or the P trap. If it's beyond that, you're going to need a cable. You're going to need to use a snake. That's kind of a higher level thing. If you don't have a snake, give us a call. We come out $97, clear the drain for you. If we don't clear it, it's free. It's not even worth buying the tool for that, right? Because it's going to cost you more than that for the tool. So anyway, that's kind of a DIY thing, and you can actually clear your own drain. Another option for you, if you do have a clogged sink and you have a single basin and you don't have a dishwasher hooked up to it, you can use a plunger on that thing. I've had some pretty good success with clearing a kitchen sink just using a plunger. And like you've always said, have a sink plunger and have a toilet plunger. I use the same one, but that's just, because my life is poop. So this doesn't really bother me at this point. So you run some hot water, it's all good. It'll kill any of the bacteria.
So side note, so this weekend, it was like Saturday night, because it always happens after hours, right? And Hayden is like, oh my God, the sink. And so I come running out, and both sides, the disposal and the sink, are this crazy water, gray, gross water, right?
Right.
And the first thing I thought of, well, I went ahead and I tried to reset the garbage disposal, but the first thing I thought of was you. And I was like, if I had just had a separate sink plunger, darn it, Andrew Twidwell. And I did not have, so that's one of the things I'm going to pick up the next time I'm out and about, at a little cheapo one for the sink, but it will never happen in my household. The plunger that belongs in the bathroom stays in the bathroom.
Right. And I was just thinking about that. You can't really use a single plunger on a double basin sink because it'll just come up in the other basin.
That's what was going on, basically.
Yeah, usually the clog is beyond that continuous waste that connects the 2 basins together. So you need to either use a really big sponge to plug the drain that you're not trying to plunge, or if you can get 2 plungers and you stick one of the plungers down there and hold it really tight. And it's easier with 2 people, and then you just kind of use the force cup on one of them. And then when you're using a plunger, one of the things that people forget is they don't realize is when you're trying to break a clog, you want to push down, but you also want to pull up really hard. And it's that back and forth action. It's not just that single push or thrust. It's actually the pulling back, which will 9 times out of 10 clear it out. Wow, we actually did some DIY there, not just how to avoid stuff. This is a big one, and we see this all the time. Properly dispose of cooking grease. And we actually have a video. Dan made a great video about bacon grease. And, I can't tell you how many people think, well, if I just heat the grease up and pour it down the drain, it'll be fine. Well, it'll be fine for a little while, and then it solidifies as it goes down the drain, because as it cools, it's going to solidify in the walls. And there's a term that we use in the industry called FOGs, fats, grease, and oil, or fat, oils, and grease. And they do an incredible amount of damage, and they will literally solidify to concrete. There are municipalities that have had to rip up their entire street because of fogs. If you're on if they've got a commercial restaurant or a restaurant somewhere and they don't have a proper grease interceptor, the fogs will go down in the fats, oils, and grease will go down into the drain and solidify and turn into concrete. And they literally had to rip out the street to replace the sewers. Just imagine what that's doing inside your house. I mean, you got to replace the pipes. We can't clear that stuff out. It's literally like pouring concrete or mortar down your drain. So yeah, do not put grease down the drain. Put it in, let it solidify, scoop it off, put it into a jar, or take a Pyrex jar and pour the hot grease into it and let it solidify and put it into your dispose of it properly. Um, I've got time for a couple more. This one's pretty good. So if you got a bunch of people living in your house and staying in your house, you may be running out of hot water between showers. So you want to wait at least 10 minutes between each shower. And they say 10 minutes. I would say closer to half an hour. If you're if you have a regular electric water heater or a regular tank type water heater, it's possible that you can use the majority of the water within 1 to 2 showers. So wait it at least 10 to 30 minutes between showers. But we do have a solution for that. You can put a tankless water heater in, and that will give you continuous hot water for all day long or until you run out of propane, or natural gas, whatever. There are options to solve that problem. So if you are thinking about if that is an issue with your household where you're running out of hot water, we got you covered. We can put a tankless water heater in for you, and you're going to have continuous hot water for as long as you need. And that's where it kind of gets weird because people say that it saves you energy. Well, the majority of times that I've installed them, people haven't saved energy because of the fact that now all of a sudden I can take a 20, 30, 40-minute shower. You're not running out of hot water any longer. And I can put a bigger shower. I can put a shower head that uses more water. And yeah, it doesn't always work that way. Avoid flushing anything but toilet paper down the toilet. A lot of times these products will say flushable. It's a marketing thing. People will say it's flushable. It's really not flushable. If you put it in water and the binders that hold it together don't dissolve and turn it to pulp, it's not flushable. So paper towels, they're designed to stay together in water to clear up spills and things like that. Don't put them down the drain. A wet wipe, it's already wet and it's still holding together. It's not going to fall apart inside the drain. Applicators, cardboard applicators, those things, cardboard doesn't fall apart in water unless it sits there for a really long time. So toilet paper is the only thing that's going to go back to its original form, which is pulp, and flush down the drain. So do not put anything other than, the stuff and toilet paper down your drain, and you'll have a lot fewer problems. And make sure your guests know the same thing, especially your younger guests, because I can't tell you how many times we've had, the 16-year-old that clogs the drain. Because, my son used too much toilet paper. That was a whole other thing. You can clog a drain with too much toilet paper. So that's a little talk we had to have. That was years ago. He's gotten over that. So those are some good tips on how to avoid some problems when you've got people staying at your house for the holidays. And this is good for Christmas too, right? You're going to have people in the house potentially for Christmas. So hopefully this stuff helped you. If you do have any problems with your plumbing, electrical, heating, or air, do give us a call at 530-230-9092. That number again, 530-230-9092. You can also find us on the web at abtplumbing.com. Find us on Facebook, YouTube now, Instagram, TikTok. Are we still on TikTok? I know we got banned for a little bit because TikTok's kind of a problem, but
I think we're still on TikTok.
I think we're still on TikTok. Social media has their own little algorithms, and I don't know why we were bumped, because I've seen some stuff on TikTok that should have been bumped a long time ago, and they weren't. And for some reason, they bumped a plumbing company. But anyway, also take advantage of our specials, $49 specials for plumbing, electrical, heating, and air, and a drain cleaning of $97 for any residential drain. If we don't clear it, it's free. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.